Welcome to the Victory Multisport Podcast. This is Coach Sarge, and I'm here with Coach Scott.
Hey there.
And Coach Kenny.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning. Hey, we are really happy to have another cast out to everyone and for you joining and listening to us. We're trying to put the wraps on 2022 and tie a bow on it, man.
It's a big one, man.
Busy year. Lot of athletes coming to Victory for the first time. A lot of people racing. Some of our legacy athletes racing all year. Coaches at races, on-site hype. And
hype to say the least.
Yeah, so I think we had an exciting time. I know, Kenny, you got some thoughts about 2022 and what you saw.
Well, 2022 was awesome. I mean, coming out of the holidays, and I got to give a special shout out to the boys, the legacies, Harley, Sniper, Tanza, and Boyd sent us all Christmas gifts. Really nice pillow, cutting board, and a bobblehead. If you guys know, you know, and it was kind of odd. So thanks, guys, for the holidays. But
we're still, and I know it's a point of contention with Sarge. I'm still confused.
Yeah.
I have no idea what's going on here.
But just know there's love coming from it.
The first reaction was a huge smile on my face. The family asked me what it was. I'm like, yeah, something that the guy sent me, right? So I appreciate it. Although I'm not as vocal about it as you are, Kenny, but I do appreciate the thoughts, and I thanked everybody.
If you're listening to this, you can DM us and ask us what it was, and we'll fill it in.
Exactly.
But sliding back to Sarge's question, 2022, what a year, man! What a year it was, and just kind of going through it. Watching guys doing and ladies doing races that they didn't think they could accomplish, seeing them go out, thinking they could just do Olympics to 70.3s, and then seeing people tackle a 70.3 and immediately sign up for a 140.6 without maybe telling Coach Scott that it was happening. And that stuff's incredible. So 2022, I think 2021 was awesome, and it catapulted into 2022. And 2022 catapult's going to be into 2023, which there's going to be some exciting things happening that we're going to be talking about throughout today. But just unbelievable seeing the athletes tearing it up. And as a coach sitting behind the scenes, it's like watching your kids do something unbelievable. And you're so proud. You're nervous at times. You're so excited. And half the times I feel like I told one athlete, I think this year, when you come out of the water, I'm going to spear you. I'm going to spear you because I'm going to be so excited. And you might get DNF'd. They think you're fighting. But that's just how we are as coaches. We see that and we get so excited.
Yeah, absolutely. I will 100% agree on the excitement, and I will 100% agree on the nervousness of just the trackers not working. Some races didn't have trackers, and we had to try to calculate things on a notebook to try to figure out where the athletes were and how they were doing, how they were performing. I think of Nikki doing her Waterman's. I had a whole notebook of calculations to try to figure out how she could break that 6 hour, and she did it. So it's really, really cool. Yeah. And what do you got, Scott?
I agree. Just the progression of the athletes. And by that, I mean the confidence. So people were starting the year with the intentions of doing like one race in particular, and they would knock that race down. And then all of a sudden they realize, man, I'm capable of so much more. And then going out and signing up for stuff as the year went on and taking on bigger challenges and literally just teeing them up and knocking them down. And dude, I'm so honored to be able to be a part of that and be present for that stuff. I mean, it is really, really inspiring, really cool.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's something just rung a bell hearing you say that is, if you think about sports in general, year one is usually the rookie season. Year one is that. So if we look at like maybe 2021, they were figuring it out. They were figuring out, am I an athlete? Am I a triathlete? And then the light switch goes on at some point, and all of a sudden what you once saw as that rookie athlete is now that seasoned vet, and they're calling off the shots. They're calling off, hey, could I get this added into my plan, or could I try this? And they're having more say in their plans and the more say in what they want. And it's really cool watching it, because when you see like Kenny Pickett right now for the Steelers, he's having a great year. Watch him next year. when he starts the things slow down a little bit. Like we used to say, in softball when we coached Venom was, oh man, that girl looks like she's drinking out of a fire hose. The balls are coming in so big. The second year, it looks like they're massive, what are the beach balls? Like a beach ball, and they're just teeing off on it. Right. Our guys right now and girls are teeing off. And I can't wait to see 2023. The tee off is going to be even bigger. More out of the park homers, right and left from top to bottom. We're going to see it.
I agree. The input with the training that we're lining up, that is a great point. You're right. The feedback that we're getting, the encouragement, the excitement, the input, like it is so valuable. For people that have leaned into that, just keep doing that.
Mm-hmm. So definitely we've, grown as a, just an organization of people, but I think even the coaching staff expanded. We've added some really high caliber talent in that realm, in the coaching staff realm, because we've got some specialty people with special skills and additional skills to just enhance that multi-sport endurance training and provide that cross coach or cross the whole platform consulting on each athlete for those very specific needs. I think that's a huge win for everybody on the team because we all get better for it. So we learn as coaches from the other coaches. We get cross-pollination, but we still have that expert in our corner that, hey, when there's something really difficult case, if you will, on trying to diagnose an injury or diagnose a training plan challenge, we can reach out and we can get some data, we can get some knowledge and really help the athletes. I think it's just a cool aspect to what we bring compared to, some of the other brands that are out there.
Oh, I feel like our athletes are driving us as an organization. Their questions, their needs, desires, I mean, it opens our eyes to bringing in other people and other resources and creating an organization where we have all of this available for everyone's disposal and into spaces where I don't know if I necessarily initially envisioned that we would be, but now that we're there, I'm blown away. I literally just recently sat in on a session with Jeff Nelson and Ryan Sipple where they went through and did all of the metrics testing.
Right.
And to watch the information that was generated and then sit with two of them and be able to tie that back into the plans and be able to understand, like, here's what's going to be able to potentially elevate your performance in workouts and races. I mean, that is exciting.
It's some definite unlocks that come, right? Certainly an unlock with an athlete like Sip, and getting that, very specific metabolic data that can help the coaching. But I think by you being there, I think it added an element of practicality, like really pragmatic, like, okay, we have all these numbers now. What do they really mean? And what's it really boiled down to? And it came down to some very rudimentary principles of racing, rudimentary principles of training that will stack in the right way now for Sips it's just going to make him even better down the road. But it was not overly rocket science in the end. It was to get the data and to collect the data.
That's a great way to
aggregate the data. But in the end, it's really pragmatic, practical, simple things that an athlete can do in a race, in a training session, training block that's going to stack so that when they get to that A race, they're going to be on fire.
Yeah.
Sipple's zone 2 is stupid. It's like it's like faster than my car. I mean, it is unbelievable. When Nelson called me, it's just unbelievable. He's a machine. The thing I love about him in that meeting of victory is he embodies even our top athlete all the way down the channel.
Yeah.
And he's willing to help and he's willing to lean in, and that just, his character is our character, and it's top to bottom, and it just fits like a glove. But yeah, it is stupid. When he told me that he's like 8 points or 9 points below Lance Armstrong.
Right.
Yeah. Built different, man.
Yeah. Built different, has a different chemistry in there. So doing a great job.
Yeah. And other spaces that we're into with the strength and the nutrition. Like, I just feel like those are resources that, they're incredible. Like, it's incredible knowledge that's at the fingertips of the coaches and the athletes.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's like Murph this year reached back out, and he's gone through some injuries, and he's, gone through it the last couple of years. He's had an Ironman finish up in Placid, and he still has that burning desire to slay that dragon one more time.
It's great.
Right.
And, we're training him right now to slay it. But Hayden's coming over the top at Hill Pursuit to do his strength. And there's going to be a different Murph. And that's the thing I think that's funny is, I had a call today. I have a couple girls racing, Gabby and Jaybird, tomorrow in that frigid 5K. And we're going to have 6 or 7 of our athletes out supporting them. And, Coach Lauren, who's brand new to us, who's a stud, she's like, can I do a race strategy for Jaybird? Absolutely.
Yeah.
The more of our coaches intel, like victory for me is showing any athlete a victory. Any athlete.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so if we can collaborate and Hayden and I can show Murph a better victory, then great, let's do it. I'm all in. And I put our coach staff up against anybody. Shep and Lauren and Coach Nelson. Everybody, Hayden brings everything different. We got bike fitters. We got strength and conditioning. We got Kenny Rogers coming over the top with nutrition plans. We got Lauren, who was a Boston runner, University of Pitt runner. Coach Shep, I think, drove my car wouldn't drive 26 miles faster than he ran it, a 225, or he'll correct me. He'll send me a note. It was 228 or whatever it was. But I mean,
But he blasted
top
it back
down.
then. He blasted it.
That's a great point. And a lot of the athletes probably don't even realize this goes on. There is great communication across the coaching staff when we are collaborating and touching base with each other to make sure that, we are using each other as a resource for the benefit of the team. Like, a lot of that communication happens, and people probably don't even realize it. They probably feel it and realize it within their training and their racing, but there is a lot of openness on the staff, and I do think that's a pillar of one of our strengths.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause you may start like, I fully envision Nick Etter. Nick Etter will probably be with Lauren for a year, and Nick Etter will probably transition over to 70.3. He's all but said it.
Yep.
And he's all but said he wants to go after 140.6, and that's Lauren's call. Do you want to still coach the run, and we'll handle everything else? Like, we want to know that an athlete can come in to say, I can just walk right now, but I want to run. And then they might get inspired because, like Pat Williams, he's getting inspired. He's just running right now, 13-1. He's probably going to go into something different.
Definitely.
Look at Sarge's face. He's going to do
We're going to get him
something
into a try. We'll get him into, something small at first, but that's just going to light his wick even more.
Yeah.
And he's going to go for it. There's no doubt. His energy, just like every other athlete that's on the team's energy to accomplish a goal, whether it's inside the year or it's at the end of the year, and then to stack that into a new goal. Right.
Yes.
To immediately flip that script right into the next goal and the next thing. And then ask us as coaches, as a team, hey, how do I get there, coach? How do I make this happen? How do I take this and build on it and make it even a bigger accomplishment, on their wall of accomplishments? So it's an amazing thing. I talked to Nick, a bit, cause he just joined, and, I just told him I loved his energy, and he's like, Coach, I just try to be positive. He's like, I just try to be a positive person, and I take what that gives me back and I use it. And he's an amazing person.
You do know he lost like 200 pounds.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Wow.
To come down on a person that was, at that weight, unhealthy, and needed to make changes, and to bring himself down to a weight that has allowed him to do these running races now, and that will ultimately turn into, probably a multi-sport operation at some point. So I'm excited for him, and others that have been, very close to that and in the same kind of mental situation that they had to come through to get to where they are now.
Yeah, we have had some athletes that have really changed their physique. I mean, I know Tanza falls into that category. Everybody understands that story. And continuing to evolve, which is very exciting. Jared's in that spectrum as well. Couldn't even run last summer. Like, ran for just a couple minutes, would walk for a couple minutes, and then ends up running a 10K, back in mid-December, which I intentionally scheduled for on the day that I was racing, and he picked up on that, which was pretty funny.
You guys both slayed it.
But he, that, and immediately just leaned into even bigger goals on that theme of, just the commitment, the desire, the excitement, what else is out there to chase. Everybody seems to have that same common denominator, which is super exciting. And that is within the endurance sports world, it's funny when people get together and you look around the room, you realize everybody is physically and mentally different, but yet when the gun goes off or when you start the workout, everybody has that common thread of we're running or we're biking or we're swimming. It's like that immediate bond.
Yep.
All those differences, everything goes right out the window. Everybody has a singular focus on achieving whatever that goal is that's sitting right in front of you. And that, for me, that's always been kind of the beauty of this sport.
Yeah. I think I love that TV show. I think you and I watched it. It was on HBO, The Band of Brothers. And it's that Band of Brothers. And now this is, please hear me when I say this. This is like a triathlon or marathon. We're not going into war. But when you go into a triathlon, Harley and Sniper will always be my band of brothers, because what happened out on that course, we know what happened. And you guys were band of brothers because you've seen it. You've seen us go through it. And that's the cool thing is Jared, goofy as heck. DM him, ask him about Meatloaf, please, because he'll fill you in on that. Jared's a unique bird, and I love that guy for his uniqueness. But what I love about him is can I help do a mile? Let me run a mile. Then he did his 5K, which was really funny because that 5K he did, I think you thought our Instagram was getting hacked. His reel has like 350,000 views of him with those headphones on, and he's running, and his wife's cheering for him, which made my heart like explode. I love that stuff. And now he's like, I did a 10K, and he's cavalierly running like 8 miles for a guy that could barely get by 1. Now he's doing 8.
Yeah.
And it's like, what else? What else is happening?
Yeah.
And his uniqueness and his that mentality, mindset of taking things too serious, it's always going to help him in the win.
And Kenny, you talk about that band of brothers mentality that comes from racing together, from training together. That's not to get too deep in the woods on this, but the shared suffering psychology, and that's a well-studied thing in that world, that people that go through an experience, whether it's traumatic but it has an element of danger, emotional connection, which you get when you're out running and training and racing, because you're putting yourself in a state of being raw and those things coming out. That's what starts to bond, invisibly between people, and to bring people together. Having served in the military, I get that. We got that from our boot camp experience, the teams that I served with overseas and that type of thing. We get that in multisports as well, because you get yourself into that raw state where you're not, you can't fake it. When you're running, and to our point, we're running that 1 mile for the very first day and we're puking at the stop sign.
Oh yeah, you get exposed.
Yeah, you're raw.
Yeah.
I mean, you're raw, and you're vulnerable, and you're there with friends and people that care about you, that are doing the same thing, and they may be puking too. So it's a transformational experience to live through those things. And it can be done in a virtual environment with a group of people training for the same race. It could be done at an event like Ironman Arizona, that we were there for Sniper, Kenny, and Harley. And I mean, I know that, some of the guys that were with us spectating will know this. We were waiting for everybody to come in off the bike, but we were short because some people came in and I didn't want to miss them on the run. And I took off on a flat sprint. I think I had the victory flag. I looked like Braveheart going down.
William Wallace.
William Wallace, or the Patriot, right? So with the flag, and if anybody got in my way, I was bowling them over, because I wasn't going to miss you
with
coming.
Your mullet gun.
I wasn't going to miss you coming out of the T2, going out on your run. And I was flying through the trees, through the grass, through the rocks, and it's a great experience to see the accomplishments that come from that, and to share that even with the spectators. We had a new athlete, Tandy, that was with us, who was from Arizona, and I think she was even more bought in at that point, because she saw how we operated in the spectator side of things, and it was just a great experience. But that all plays into, I think, how we all feel, how passionate we even more so now are in the end of 22 and looking forward to 2023, and how that's just going to stack in such an incredible way. And I know we've got some things on the docket already.
We do.
We've got people already signing up for races. Certainly that's been going on for a little bit of time, but the frequency at which it's happening now is kind of electrifying.
Yeah. I think, I get asked a ton, about coaching and what's that like and how do you feel about that? And I think you summed it up really, really good there. And it's only that fire's only burned more, and it's seeing somebody. And the other question I always get is, what does victory mean? And this might all lump together for me. I've had the privilege, and Scott has, and now Sarge is having it as well, to walk into tight spots with somebody. Like I remember eagerly waiting in Ohio for Ryan Schenkel. He was the last one to come to check in. Right. The last one. And I knew Ryan was going to be in a tough spot because of his training, because Ryan's such a good all-around person with kid stuff and coaching, and he's worked 2 or 3 jobs, and Ryan does it the right way. And all I wanted to do was be there every spot I could see him that day and watch him grow up on that course. And he grew up, and he's going to do it again. And so, like, when I say victory, if somebody, I mean, we're going to find out what it means to Scott too, but like for me, victory is not necessarily that Tommy Schweers did a 5:04, or that Schenkel did a 7 hour and 3 minute, or whatever it was, and that Matty Metz did this. What victory truly means to me is the fact that you get somebody that now may have walked away or gave up on their life to just say, this is what I am. I'll settle. I'm going to settle for what I'm living in right now, status quo. And Dr. Pinion Spence, Doc or Spinion, as the guys call him, he said to me in Coach Scott's dining room one time, and he had his hand going downward in like a downward slope. And he goes, Kenny, this was my life. I hit my highs, and I'm almost just waiting to live my life out. And it's a good life, but he goes, now that trajectory is upward. And we see that upward trajectory, and it's not because somebody PR to 5K. Right. It's because they're PR in life. And so, like, when I see that, like in 2022, some of my highlights were a man who said it, all but says it. He says it maybe once a month. I was dead and I was waiting to die, and I was praying with my kids to give me here another day. And now he's moved his family. He got a job promotion. Yep. His picture was up at the New York Stock Exchange. And he's doing a 70.3 and a 140.6 to a man who couldn't run 2 minutes. Right. And so then you move that over to Tommy D, who sent me a text one time, and Tommy's a runner, straight runner under Shep, and he does amazing things. And Thomas sends me a text that says, Coach, and I'll always remember this, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be more present, to be more confident, to be this, to be that, to be a better, he's going to be a father soon, to prepare me to be a better dad. Like, he's a better human being now. And if victory is that because he's running and they found this other person, like, that's the stuff that I'm here for all day. And I can go on and on and on about, this saved my life, or what this means to them. This V on their chest, it's a way of life for them. And that's the stuff, like, and through that, we as coaches, we have fun being that pottery and making them into that beautiful vase, because they are so worthy of everything that they're going to get on the race course, because we can see that they put it in. I mean, you say it all the time, Musselman doesn't care. Shop the perimeter. Those are some of the things we use because we want the best version of them. And so for me, victory in this 2022 is summed up with absolute unreal accolades on the athletic course. We've had worlds qualifiers, PRs, but for me, it's the human beings that they're turning into. Yep. The Hearts didn't believe they could do more than an Olympic. Geez Louise, I think they're doing 70.3s, marathons. Yeah. And
talk
they're
about
incredible.
People that like to sign up a lot, right?
And they're
signing up, man. I love it.
But it's that lightning rod that they got bit by that's saying, go do more. Yeah. And maybe we're in their ear and in their corner. We're the mix saying, you can do more. You can do more.
I've always thought the sport transcends life. Like, and Sarge, you made the point earlier about when you engage in this, you are exposing yourself, whether you know it or not. Right. Like you are willing to be vulnerable. And I think that is really key, because as you go into other parts in life, whether it's pursuing further education, whether it's leaning more into your job, whether it's dedicating more into a relationship, you're doing those same things, whether you realize it or not. For me, that's one of the rewarding parts of this. One of the statements I always use when I'm working with athletes is run your race. Don't worry about everybody else that's out there. You train for your race. So run and focus on your race. And if you do that over time and you keep doing that, you'll get better. And that is true of the sport. That is true of your job, your education, relationships. Again, all of those multiple spaces that we all live in, run your race and you will benefit. Now coming back to the question about like, what does victory mean to me? It's interesting because, and Kenny, you mentioned this earlier about all the different years now. Like now we're getting to the point where, we're stacking years.
Yeah.
And so you can reflect a little bit and see like the evolution on how we've grown. For me, initially, it was all about tactics and getting like pieces in the right spot and thinking about, okay, I've got like this athlete over here and we got to move this here. And we're going to focus on this race here. And how do we like logistically get things done? A couple of years out from that now, it's different. It looks different and it looks fantastic. And that the part for me, I was thinking about this a little bit that really resonated. And this gets back to, and Kenny will appreciate this because this is a Mars tie-in. So Joe Siak, who I coached with in track, always used to say to the athletes, we all have individual events that we're participating in, but always remember the name across your chest. That's who you're representing. And when I think about us in the same light now. It's when we come to an event, it's like victory has arrived.
Yeah.
Like, think about the name on the chest.
Yeah. It's a Herb Brooks too. Herb Brooks comment about the name on the front better than the name on the back of the jersey, right?
So, well, Herb Brooks would be Scott telling Tanza again.
I'll lock up. Go home.
How do we? Right? Yeah, we have to. Herb, we got to turn the lights off. I'll lock up. Give me the Zamboni keys.
That's a great analogy, and I think that's an awesome depiction of how we've evolved. And we've gotten better at those technical things, and they become easier for us to have that happen and to stack things for everybody. To provide opportunities for the athletes to engage, to come to race camp, by the way, beginning of June 2023, right? So we'll get the dates out to everybody. But to come to race camp and be together for those that are, not necessarily in the same city, and to do those things and to share those experiences as well is incredible, highly important. And so, I appreciate the growth as well. I mean, coming alongside this, I think one of the things for me that's really keeps me motivated, gets me fired up about victory is, how Kenny and I started way back when it was to show our kids, was to improve ourselves for our children and to show them that anything's possible. And I know that's a tagline of Ironman, but it truly was how we started before it was a tagline of Ironman. So we'll have to get our royalty checks sometime soon on that. But we brought them to races and they were small, tiny in some ways. And now they're almost adults, all of them. And they're working on, college and finishing high school and coming up with what they want to do in their life. And I think that's important to us still. But it was the basis for what now has become, let's share this with everybody. Let's share what we learned, how we came to it, the things we read, the books we read, through the coaching now. We're sharing our knowledge of this sport, in some cases, we're doing some life coaching. There's some opportunities for that. But it helps everybody along. We allow them to tap into that vast resource of what we learned over the 12 or 13 years we have been racing, and all the mistakes that we made, we can maybe warn them against, even though they may still make the same mistake and learn from it just as easily as we did. But I think that's really important to me, and how we share and how we bring people along and get them to lean in on our experiences. I think it's super important.
Yeah, we just had that happy hour the other day, and it was really cool.
Lit.
Yeah. I think Candace is still dehydrated. But no, the thing that's really cool, in going back to 2022, probably the best 10 minutes I had all year was a 10-minute 1 mile run with Matt Ice. So Ice and I shared something so beautiful that day on that Saturday run. And I was stepping back watching, this beautiful painting of the day go down. And I noticed his dad reaching out on the course to him just to give him 5. And Matt shared with me at happy hour, he said, look what I got for Christmas. His dad made him a calendar, or his mom or dad. I feel like it was his dad, but his dad made him a calendar, and it was pictures of Matt all throughout that race. And now the thing that's so beautiful is Matt shared with me that his mom and dad now are like, it's like Team Ice. Like, what are we racing this year? Where are we going? And for him to bring his family full circle,
right,
because of his accolades of doing something uncommon, that to me is what embodies this sport, that family driven stuff,
right.
And I also think back of when Tanza did his Muscleman, he posted a beautiful picture of him coming out of the water, and he had his swim cap, and he had his, you remember, he had his suit halfway down, and you could see his victory on his chest. And he used the term, I was baptized coming out of the water. And I think of how even victory name came. You were swimming and you came out of the water. And that's a reference in the Bible that, when Jesus was baptized by John the Baptist, he came out of the water. And when you come out of the water, you're said to be set free. And that coming out of the water of Mike saying that 2 years later kind of almost prophesized you coming out of the water saying, Kenny, I don't know why, but victory is like a burning on my chest.
Yeah.
I kept thinking of victory. And in your mind that day was, when I think of a win, I think of victory. And a win for our athletes might not be winning a race. It might be, Harley, take a step outside the door, take a step out of bed, get moving, move in life. And if you heard his last podcast, you'll know what that means. And so like victory could look so different to Ryan Sipple than it could to Ben Earljack, than it could to Jody Hart. And it's our job as coaches to understand what that victory is. And that's why when we walk into the arena with the athlete, how nerve-wracking we are.
Yeah.
Because we know what that victory means to them. And we know what they've pushed the chips in for. And they know the finances that they've had to spend to get there. And the things that they may have had to do differently to get them to that point. And that's, to me, I'm like holding back tears right now, because I sit there and I know what everybody's cooked, into their meal to get to that race. And I know what they've had to endure.
Right.
I know the hard times that, Jay Bird calls me and says, I think I'm done running. And then we had a talk, and now she's running 7-minute miles, and she's going to do very well tomorrow. And like, it's that pivotal point that us coaches want desperately to talk to us. Let us know what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, Sarge, you were relatively instrumental in Colina, athlete, potentially changing a life career.
Yeah.
Sure. And so there's things out there that we're doing for these athletes that are so incredible. If you lean into us, we're going to lean back hardcore. And that's what victory means to me.
Yeah. We don't leave anybody behind. That's for sure. I mean, I had an athlete call or write or made a comment in their Training Peaks. Yeah, I think I'm going to bag the whole thing. I'm like, call me right now. Call me right now. Let's talk about it. And we chatted, and, they said, the runs are just so terrible. I wish I could get better. And I'm like, okay, let's look at your peaks. Maybe if we did the runs, we could get them done. So it was a nice way to say, look, be consistent. Don't be all or nothing. Don't, just because you don't feel well, do zero. Go out, do what you can, because what will ultimately happen is you'll do the whole workout. If you get out the door and you go, you're going to run the 4, 5, 6, whatever it is that day. And boom, light bulb goes off, complete switch in attitude. Probably didn't realize that it was an all or nothing. But when you look back at the history on the peaks, you see, okay, yeah, I didn't feel well that day. I had to fly for work that day. I had to drive this, for something else this day. And you skipped all these different workouts. So we're not skipping anymore now. We're consistent, and we're going to hit that Muscle Man course this year and do an outstanding job. So it can be happening. Sometimes it's tough love. Sometimes it's just encouragement. Sometimes it's just the reality check of having the coach, bring it back home and make a better decision, and listen to the emotion, let it spill out, but then let's get to the science again and go back to work.
Yeah.
I feel like we've all but said, don't go to an Ironman if you're not going to want to do one, right?
Yeah, right. Because you'll sign up.
Yeah, and that's why team camp, and we'll talk about that later, is so great. I mean, I think Ben Hawley said, he goes, great, here comes a great weekend of being around a bunch of high energy people. I'm going to drink maybe way too much, and then I'm going to sign up for crazy stuff. And Ben, to his point, he just came to the first one to support Kate and fell in love with the process. Right. And Ben is going to toe the line in 2 races this year, 70.3 and a 140.6. And I love that dude so much because he'll write it his way. It doesn't have to be how Lance Armstrong would do it.
Run your race.
He's going to run his race. And there might be a beer on his bike rack, and I'm okay with that. Maybe not Ironman. We'll make sure it's in his victory bottle, but Ben will run it his way.
Ben is a great example of everything that we're touching on here. I mean, the inclusion of family, the being, drawn to the sport, leaning in, doing something, learning that you have success, wanting something more. I mean, these are all the themes that we're hitting on, and you're right. He's a great example of that.
Yeah, and I love Team Hawley because they do the rides together. They just set up their pain cave together, and they're creating a beautiful life in endurance. And Ben will swim the 4.4. Kate's probably mad at me right now. Next year in Chesapeake, she's going to swim it, and I'll probably be swimming it with her. And she's going to send me a nasty note tomorrow, like, Kenny, I didn't agree to that, but I'll probably swim it. And but that's the fun stuff is us asking for more, and the athlete thirsty for more.
Yeah,
and they're going to. Great. I love that analogy. They will deliver it. None of our athletes have not delivered. They deliver.
Every single one of them. Every single one of them's had challenges. Every single one of them's overcome those challenges in different ways, different aspects. We have seen races that the athletes have been thrown weather. They've been thrown wind. They've been thrown their bike falling over right before they put it in transition because they weren't holding it, Tanza, and wondering if it was going to work the next day. But the point is even if you're over-prepared, which we always want to be to get into the race, the environmentals are always going to be different, and understanding those and making those adjustments and, in that moment in time, sucking it up and going. Yeah. Because the race is continuing, right? Rain or shine.
I really do appreciate all the effort all of our athletes put into training and to racing. And I know that we can speak to this because we're all endurance athletes as well, so we relate to this. And I say to my athletes all the time, and that includes so I coach a lot of high school athletes as well, and I'm telling them, look, there's a moment. There's going to be a moment in your race where the pain is incredible, like head to toe, head throbbing, legs are heavy. Somebody is right beside you, and you at that moment have to make the decision, yes or no. And that is the difference between success and failure. And to watch people go through that process and make the decision and go as a coach, that is so rewarding. And the reason I bring that up is because I know and I appreciate our athletes getting to that point in their races all year and pushing through. I know it. I've experienced it. I just experienced it. I'm going to experience it again with you. Very much appreciate that.
Yeah. I think the great example of that pushing to yes or no, do you remember in Musselman, Steven at like mile 9 or 10,
yes.
Yep. You told me if you see him, tell him yes. And he took off and he flew. And I'll always remember that. I think it was a Sunday afternoon. We get this video from him and he's running and I swear there was like maybe a 3-foot flood of water and he's running through it.
Trudging right through it, stomping through it.
He's talking to us and the truck's like, hey, do you want to ride? He's like, no, I'm just out here running. He had his victory kit on. And see, Steve, it embodies a lot of that, but that would have been that pure, he held back and ran his race that you and him planned for perfectly. And you said I think we had Sarge at a different point. I was at a different point looking for Tanza. You were at a different point watching for Spencer, and we had like phones going on. If you see Steven and he's feeling good, you tell him yes. And he took off that last couple. And I love still that day, those guys, as they were running their race, their very first question, as soon as we saw them, how's Tanza? Where's Tanza?
Yeah.
Where's Tanza?
Yeah.
You know, because again, that goes with Sarge saying, it's us running through the flag. And if it's not the coach carrying it, it's the athlete carrying it. Because if you have the V on your chest, you're family, man. You're good. You're already, there's no, any past is forgotten and any sins are forgotten. Like you're good with us. Your victory, we're family. We're going to be there to cheer for you. And that's what brought the heat in Ohio. That's what's going to bring the heat in Penn State this year. That's what's going to bring the heat in Maryland. Is Maryland is going to be a rock star group. And, you know, we'll share that as the year goes on of who's racing that. But wow, it's going to be wild. Next 2023 is going to be wild.
Yeah. We are recognizable now at events and venues. And that is a credit to our athletes.
Absolutely.
I mean, the energy, the passion, the presence. And we even have athletes come to races just to support other athletes. We did that for Arizona. Tanza and Nick were there. Like that is, I mean, it's fun. It's encouraging. You know, it just makes you excited even more for the upcoming year and years beyond.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It feeds the monster for sure. And it gets them excited even more so. They're giving back to the athletes that are racing that day, but they're getting energy. They're absorbing, they're charging the batteries for their plan, their training, their situation. I know we actually, the spectators went out and we did a workout. We went and we found a pool. We did a good solid hour plus swim training. And, you know, Nick, who came all the way from Massachusetts to come out to Arizona to spectate, he's like, no one else would spend the time with me, this much time to teach me how to swim, you know, better, right? He was swimming, but coaching him up and just giving him tips and pointers and getting his mind, you know, shifted a little bit in the water because he's working on it and he's doing well with it. But he needs a little more support there. So we did that and we felt great. And so much so that you took off with the flag and ran to the top of the mountain and got somebody to take your photo, and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. You could see it on your face when you got your picture taken. So
was that the A mountain?
Yeah. That A mountain. So in Tempe right there. So right by the university. It's just amazing times to have the energy around the whole experience, and it's amazing. I agree with you, Kenny. 2023, just we're lining it up, we're stacking it. It's shaping up to be, you know, incredible, right? We're going to have on-site coaches in Galveston. We're going to have on-site coaching in Ohio, Sandusky, in Happy Valley for sure. Same day as Sandusky, we'll be in Lake Placid. So we got to divide and conquer a little bit here. We're going to be in Maryland for sure. And there's probably another couple that I'm missing, but you know, they're going to find their way into the schedule to have that expertise, there as a resource to our athletes to help support them through the whole process, to get them excited and keep them focused on the plan of whatever that race plan is. And if they're a first timer, you know, just help them through all the little mechanisms of what it takes to get checked in, get your stickers on, get your bike put away, get yourself ready, pack your bags, or have your lay down stuff ready to go in transition, and help their family spectate for the first time if that's the case. Like show them where to go. This is the best place to stop. Do this.
Sarge, it's a great point. Like and you never know the audience of necessarily who's listening to what we're saying, but if anybody is ever curious, I mean, we have grown now as a team to being present all through the U.S. If you're curious about these sports, I mean, our athletes that we presently have, as well as the coaches, there are so many people available to help you with those things, to become acclimated to the sport, that it's really impressive, you know, that just the availability, the the presence across all these different markets now. I mean, it's great.
Yeah, when we plan their year, it's not normally like, hey, what's good for me? Mm-hmm. The first question usually the athlete asks is, where's everyone going to be?
Yeah.
They want to know. In fact, Timmy's killing it. Timmy, absolutely destroying it under Coach Hayden's watch. And he was supposed to be in Eagleman. And I believe Timmy just either moved. I'm pretty sure it's Ohio.
Moved to Ohio. Yeah, moved to Sandusky.
Because the crew's going to be there and he wants to race. And for him, that first timer walking into the grinder, he's going to know he's walking into it with Hogg, and he's going to be in there with Bloom, and he's going to be in there with Tanza, or not Tanza. He's going to be in Tanza.
Tanz.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So like he's going to go in there with 7 to 8. We have a girl relay team going in there. The females are going to kill that day, and they're going to have fun.
Coach Scott's going to be there that day. He's going to race it.
Yeah. So that's going to be.
Coach Sarge will be on the pit crew, helping everybody out with their bike and their gear and their mindset and yadding the hell out of people. So getting them fired up. So we're going to have a presence there for sure.
Honestly, I mean, if you're looking for help to get into this sport, our athletes will tell you the reason we grow so much is the hand holding, the being in their corner, the understanding them. The team approach. I mean, every time I turn around, the WhatsApp has like 200 communications in there from the guys and maybe 10 in the girls.
Yeah.
But there's good stuff going on. There's camaraderie being built. And again, that's the family function that we have. And
absolutely. Absolutely. To your point, Scott, anybody listening that's starting to follow the podcast, following us on Instagram, or just, seeing victory and wanting to know more. If you see us at the race, you see us with the kit on, you see the flag, come up and just say hi. There's no commitment. Just say hello, introduce yourself. We'd love to meet you. Love to just chat you up a bit and see what your goals are, and see if there's something that we can do to help that's a fit, then we'll make it a fit, and it's all good. So we look forward to seeing you guys out there, all over the country.
Absolutely. Well said.
Sarge, we do have the one other thing for 2023.
2023.
Pittsburgh.
So Pittsburgh Marathon. Those of you out there listening that are, thinking about running Pittsburgh, live in Pittsburgh, maybe you're going to travel in from somewhere to do your first half marathon or full marathon. Maybe you're not even thinking about coming to Pittsburgh, but after you hear that we're going to start group training, putting together small groups of athletes that are either half or full, and assigning a coach to that group, and allowing people to get a little flavor of victory at the Pittsburgh Marathon this year in May. Sign up in January to join one of the groups, have monthly calls with your coach, get race plans produced for you, race training produced for you, free software, a whole list of benefits of joining the group, and become Team Victory for the Pittsburgh Marathon coming up. So look for that on Instagram. Look for that on the website. There'll be more information coming out in the next week or so. And it'll be great to see everybody, and great to have people come in and try us out for the first time.
I'm telling you, 2023, the athletes already know it, but we are locked in and loaded. And the things that are coming down the road, exciting stuff that's happening inside the victory walls.
Absolutely. So past May, for those of you that are in the triathlon world and want to do the multisport world, we host a race camp here in the North Hills of Pittsburgh. We use several different venues, from a couple different swimming pools to a couple of places that are safer to ride bikes, on some courses, and even get into some open water up at Lake Arthur and Moraine State Park, and get some open water swim training and run training there. So duathlons, biathlons, and a lot of workshopping, TED Talks, a couple happy hours, and a couple parties in there to get some time,
lighten the mood.
To get to know each other a little better, and to help people with their goals. And I think that's both athlete to athlete. That's coaches will be there. Even our families come, and you get to know where we come from, how we do things, what we think about, and it's a great time. So more information on that as well for June. So we're stacking some events. We're stacking on-site coaching. And we have a series of athletes that are, really stacking their race schedules right now, coming into 2023. So it's an exciting time to get people recharged and restarted. I think the holidays are a great time to, take a break. Although Coach Scott raced in December, right?
I did.
And killed
it was fun.
Killed a 70.3 in Florida. I wanted to make sure we mentioned that today.
No, I appreciate
it's
it.
worth
it was so bizarre doing an Ironman event with Christmas music playing and a Christmas tree up. I was just like, this feels kind of weird. But then it was a lot of fun. I had a ton of notes from the team too. I really do appreciate that.
Yeah.
The support was incredible.
So
Huge volume.
The new quote from Coach Scott is, "If it feels weird, run faster."
Yeah.
His Project One graphic was sick too. You had your in your true fashion of the rockin'.
They did a great job.
Oh yeah,
so appreciative.
Yeah, Tiago
from Project One, hooking us up with the Instagram posts. So it's awesome.
Yeah, I couldn't be prouder of where we are in the moment, where we've come. I mean, we wrestled back and forth, not argued, but we wrestled back and forth. Like, do we go over 10 athletes? Do we go over 20? Like, cause it was just you and I, and we're figuring it out, and we're to the point, like we're pushing over 100 right now, and there's no end in sight. I think we had 6 onboards this week, and that's a testament of our athletes. That's a testament of them delivering, and that's a testament of the coaches delivering. And that to me is just a perfect storm, and that perfect storm is just going to continue. And like I loved, if I end on a note, it is, there comes victory again. They're here, and we're here in a big way.
Absolutely. Where there's one, there's many, and we're going to be everywhere. And if you see somebody racing, there's got to be twice that or triple that. It's spectating and cheering them on. And then in the virtual world, the whole team's behind every single person that goes out and puts it on the line at any race, anytime. Just like tomorrow, we have 2 people running a local 5-mile race. We're going to have 6 or 7 people, maybe 8, 10 people out there cheering them up that last hill to the finish line. It's an amazing thing.
A lot of fun. Can't wait.
Absolutely.
So thank you for listening to episode 5. We've really enjoyed recapping 2022 and trying to get you motivated and fired up for 2023, because I know we are, as the coaches and the owners of the company. So come back, listen to us again. Thank you for listening to the Victory Multisport podcast.